Welcome back. This is Africa Report. Gold digging in Ghana is big business. The majority of the companies involved are Ghanaian. However, more and more foreign companies and investors come to Ghana to work in the gold industry, mainly because of the stable political and economical climate Ghana has to offer. Africa Report went to Ghana to investigate.
Ghana is filled with gold.
Ghana has a lot of opportunities.
We have a very vibrant mining sector.
Ghana really is a success story.
The Republic of Ghana is a growing economic nation of Western Africa. Foreign investors choose this country because it's more developed and stable than other West African countries like Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso and Mali. Ghana has twice the per capita output of the poorer countries in West Africa, and the government puts a lot of effort into attracting investors to the country.
I think they should see Ghana as a positively investor-friendly country. We have the environment here. We have a peaceful environment. We have currently a good democratic government. We try very hard to make sure that there's good governance.
The two most successful areas of the Ghanaian economy are gold and cocoa production. Gold production has risen from 261,000 ounces in 1982 to 2.2 million ounces in 2002.
Ghana used to be called Gold Coast. Ghana is filled with gold. And I hear when the Portuguese first came, you could actually find gold along river banks and on the seashore. And that's why they called one town Elmina, the mine. So gold is the most preponderant mineral in Ghana. It goes from the south to the north, all running gold.
The gold and also the cocoa sector are highly dependent on foreign investors because Ghanaians do not have enough financial resources to invest in their own industries.
The investors coming from, say, the richer countries, more advanced industrial countries, would be expected to come not only with the capital, but also with know-how and their markets. You want to sell, people are prone to buy brand names. And so if you get an investor coming with all these assets, know-how, technology, cash, and markets, and I think our problems are sort of eased or lightened for us.
The Ghana Chamber of Mines represents the peak industry association for mining in general. Most of the members are in the gold mining business. They exist to promote and protect the interest of the miners.
We are about 51 members, made up of producing mines, most of whom are gold, and then manganese mining and bauxite mining. And then we also have contracting companies who service the mines, as well as suppliers. We call them the affiliates. They are the suppliers of inputs for mining.
Every member of the Chamber of Mines gives financial support to community projects, education and health, and infrastructure programs. As a member, it's their social responsibility to support the communities around them.
Each of the mines, exists in a community, and in fact, it is the presence of the mines that have even given life to a lot of the communities, which were villages before the mining companies went there. And as part of the code of ethics of the chamber, each mine is to have a direct relationship with all the communities around it.
The interest in the gold mining in Ghana has attracted large-scale foreign investment from investors in Australia, Canada, Britain and South Africa. They decided to expand to Ghana because of the political stability.
The Muslims and the Christians have been integrated in the government, and that prevents the conflict that one sees in other West African countries. It also has a reasonably good fiscal regime, and the government is very aware that it's important to attract foreign investors and are making it more attractive.
Some foreign companies who left West Africa to invest in other countries have decided to return. Ghana in particular seems interesting to foreign investors.
We felt that Ghana, the indications were that from a social, political, economic standpoint, looked fairly stable. From a technical standpoint, Ghana has a lot of opportunities in gold exploration, gold deposits, and hopefully gold operations.
The potential of doing business here in Ghana is tremendous. There's a lot of activity. The economy is really growing. And the investors who are really interested to come to Ghana will find that the infrastructure in the country has been rather well developed. There's a very good banking sector, also communication. When you look at the telephones or internet, emails, it's all available now. On our mine site as well, when I came 6 years ago, there was one phone line, and in the rainy season we couldn't use it.
Besides the improvement of the infrastructure, the telecommunications and bank sector, the government has taken other measures to attract investors, one of these being the privatization of most of the mine companies in Ghana.
With the privatization, I think that the policy of government, is to govern and stay away from active, business, and therefore we will privatize, except the fact that for the fact that we will still want to retain the 10% holding interest.
The strategy of the government to attract potential foreign investors is to invite them to Ghana and to put them into contact with Ghanaian companies so that they can improve their activities. The active role of the government comes from their strong belief in the benefits of their country.
So if you come, and Africa has a population well over 600-700 million. With the development of infrastructure, if you come in now, you grow with Africa, and it will be the best place to make your profits.
This is Mike Maloney, and Mike is my gold expert. And the reason gold is so important, gold and silver, is because gold and silver is God's money. It's money made by God. And then in 1971, the U.S. government, under President Nixon, took God's money and turned it into man-made money. Never in the history of the world, this is the thing, never in the history of the world has this ever happened. In 1971, the U.S. and Nixon convinced the entire world to replace gold and silver with paper money. This stuff. Cash is trash. So the reason we have so much volatility in the world today is historically, since the time of the Romans and the Greeks and the French and the English and the Germans, every time they have taken God's money, like silver here, and replaced it with man-made money, there's been economic volatility. Now the problem is, so the dollar is going to keep dropping. So one of the reasons I can predict what's going to happen is I can predict the dollar will keep dropping simply because the U.S. government and now the euro, the European central banks, are printing so much of this trash. So you'll see gold going up in price, oil going up in price, real estate going up in price, because this is trash. So that's what happened in 1971, has happened throughout history. And the reason this current election doesn't make any difference is the only person they can put this back in place is a strong, charismatic leader. People like Julius Caesar, Napoleon. That's why they were such great leaders, was they actually replaced this with this. Unfortunately, we do not have that person among the candidates. I know Ron Paul, philosophically, I agree with him as closely as possible, but unfortunately I don't think Ron Paul has the chutzpah, as my Jewish friends would say, to change this whole thing. So there will be more this printed than ever before, which means the dollar keeps coming down and other things keep going up. And that's really what's going to happen. It's predictable. And eventually this will go to its true worth, zero. So all of you savers out there and people trying to save this trash, you're going to lose big time. With that, Mike Maloney.
Kim was talking about the crystal ball, and Kelly was talking about cycles. And the way you make that crystal ball work is just reading economic history, because everything is just waves and cycles and waves and cycles
This has happened
over and
before,
over
right?
again. It's all happened before. In fact, the thing with the currency has literally happened hundreds of times, where they've gone to from an asset-backed currency. Currencies have been backed by oil, by gold and silver, by land. As soon as you remove something that you can't, something that puts financial constraint on them, where you can't just print as much of it as you want, the currency is pretty much doomed. There's been thousands of fiat currencies, and they all die.
Yeah, back in the Revolutionary War, the U.S. government, to fight the war, printed a thing called the Continental, and that's why the saying is, as worthless as the Continental.
Yeah, not worth a Continental.
Not worth a Continental.
It went to zero in a hyperinflation. Most people don't know that the U.S. has already been through a hyperinflation. And then during the Civil War, Lincoln came out with the greenback, and that's how he paid the troops, and it was competing with a gold-backed currency that was already in circulation. And we went through a huge inflation where the dollar lost 66% of its purchasing power during the Civil War. So this has all happened before, and we're coming up on a convergence of a whole bunch of cycles. There's something called the Kondratiev wave that's this long, it's about the length of a human lifetime. And the last time the Kondratiev wave went into what's called the Kondratiev winter, that was the Great Depression. We've actually started the Kondratiev winter back in about 2000.
Yeah, let me back up what he's saying. Historically, throughout time, again, it's not crystal ball, it's called, prognostication. Every 75 years there's a depression. The last depression was 1930. So we're right on it right now.
Yeah.
Now, again, the rich will get richer and the poor and middle class will get wiped out, unfortunately.
And with that, there's another cycle that I call the currency cycle, and it's this pendulum that swings back and forth from quality money to quantity currency and back to quality money. And it's gone on through the centuries since 407 AD, when the first hyperinflation happened in Athens. And I believe that we're on the precipice of this again. If the U.S. dollar has to go back to gold-backed, you're looking somewhere well north of $6,000 an ounce for gold. Somewhere, and it all depends. You have no idea how much currency they're going to print between now and then.
How much is gold today?
And gold today is $850, $865, something like that. And it just broke its 1980 record high and closed above 850. This is for the first time ever in history. That puts us in the second phase of this bull market. The first phase of any bull market is sort of a stealth phase where it's quiet accumulation. Then the second phase is usually the longest duration and the greatest growth. And then the final third phase is the blow-off top where the market just goes vertical. You remember the NASDAQ in the last 3 months of 1999. It just went vertical, and the public, everybody rushed into it. And they all got slaughtered. The herd always comes rushing in at the end, and they always get slaughtered. And that's the time you want to sell. You don't want to hold on to gold and silver forever. You want to hold on to it until a median-priced single-family home costs less than 40 ounces of gold or less than 500 ounces of silver, and then you want to trade your gold and silver for real estate, cash flow real estate. Like I said, everything is waves and cycles, and the great news is that the greatest wealth is created in the shortest period of time when we're going back through these crises. There was more wealth actually created for the rich, not for the average investor, but for the rich, like Joe Kennedy and Jesse Livermore, these stock market investors. They created more wealth for themselves from 1929 to 1932 than they did all throughout the 20s. World War I and all the roaring 20s, the big stock market boom. They like doubled, tripled, quadrupled their wealth from 1929 to 1922 when the markets were crashing. The same thing happened from 1971 to 80 when the market was going sideways. As a stock market investor, you weren't getting anywhere. There were a couple of real estate booms, but if you take the expansion of the money supply, real estate just kept up with the expansion of the money supply. So inflation really, your real estate in the 70s, was keeping up with inflation. But gold went up 24 times its price in 9 years, and silver went up 39 times its price. If you had just 10% of your net worth, your entire net worth in gold, and you lost the other 90%, by 1980 you were 2.4 times richer than you were in 1971, with just 10%. So it's huge wealth that's created in a very short period of time. So for 2008, you know, Robert called me a couple of weeks ago. He asked me where I see gold going. I said down, and it went way up instead. And the reason I said down was because the European Central Bank had just created 350 billion euros. That's $500 billion worth of euros. They had already inflated their currency supply 12% from January to September. On December 18th, they added another 4% to their currency supply in one day. So the world is awash in paper money. It's a blizzard of paper money. And what's really interesting, if you study history, there comes a time where the public, the mass psyche of the country and the world, this time the world, before it's always been a country, but the mass psyche starts to sense the currency debasement. Everybody should be able to feel it now. You go to the grocery store, you go to the gas station, you can feel that there's a currency debasement going on. Everything's costing more. Your currency is losing purchasing power. And as the public starts to wake up, gold and silver go through the roof, and all that paper that they've created, gold and silver do an accounting periodically throughout history. It's really exciting to see this. They automatically revalue themselves when the public wakes up, and they catch up to all the currency that's been produced. And there's this same tiny little pile of 2 billion ounces of gold that there was back in 1980. And the pile of silver has gone from 2.2 billion ounces to 300 million. Today, there's 8.3 times more gold available for investors to buy than there is silver.
I want you guys to hear what, I don't think we heard what he just said, okay? To me, I've been saying this for a number of years now. Silver is the biggest opportunity I have ever seen, bigger than real estate, bigger than anything else. And silver, as we're talking today, 2008, is about $15 an ounce. Mm-hmm. There's less than 10-year supply worth of silver on planet Earth. The difference between gold and silver is gold is hoarded, silver is consumed. Silver is an industrial precious metal. It is used in cell phones, telephones, computers, electric lights, everywhere. The more information age we become, the more we use silver. And what Michael is saying is that stockpile is at all-time lows, and they're not discovering much more. Poland has about 25% of the world's silver, so you know, you can buy real estate silver in Poland. You know, but anyway, so when people say,
Mexico too.
Yeah, where am I investing? I say I'm investing in the world. I say, what do you mean by that? It says I'm investing in a metal that is consumed throughout the world. So I haven't, and I buy a little gold, but I've been buying silver. Kim and I've been buying silver since it was about $4 an ounce, and we stockpile it. We buy ETFs. We buy anything we can in that stuff, and then you know it was what, $7. Then all of a sudden now it's 15, and we're just watching it. It is not crystal ball. You know, it is not about the stuff on television. It is pure supply, demand, economics, fundamentals. As I said, there's 2 billion people wanting the Western lifestyle. 2 billion people wanting cell phones, computers, electricity, lights, all of this stuff. So I look at it as $15 an ounce. Oh, I think I'll wait. Well, I remember when it was $3 and $3.50, then $3.70, then $4, and then I said,
yep,
the bottom had been hit. The thing is trending up, and it just keeps going.
I bought at $4, and I got into the business of selling gold and silver just because I knew that the cycle had changed.
I just want to say, too, I think it was interesting. We were in Poland. And Robert's saying, people are saying, well, we're in Poland now, and real estate is really high, and Robert's been talking about silver, and Poland silver supply is like 20 to 25% of the world's silver is in Poland, and they're like, yeah, but what should we invest in? They're like, silver. Yeah, but what? I don't have what silver? It's like it's right in front of them. A lot of times it's just right in front of them, but they just couldn't see it.
That's one of the things, too. You can buy it and you can take it home. It can't go bankrupt on you. You can't have a labor dispute or Enron accounting. It's just this super simple thing. You buy it now. You sit on it for 5 years. I don't know how long it's going to take, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. We could be going into a currency crisis right now. There was a trend line for gold where it was going up very smoothly and the price hit this trend line. It changed a little bit in 2005. I was hoping that we would drop back to the 750 area or so by February and touch this trend line. If we don't, we've established a new trend line that's extremely steep, which would give us maybe $1,500 to $2,500 gold by the end of this year. And that says that we're beginning a currency crisis. Precious metals are the only investment class where their bull market can go from stage 1 to stage 3, and it's called a currency crisis. And you could see gold anywhere from $5,000 to actually trillions, quadrillions, sextillions of dollars per ounce.
It depends on how hard the dollar and the euro and the loonie and the Aussie dollar.
They create them all now by doing this. They just type them into a computer, the dollars. They don't have to print them anymore. It used to be that you had to mint coinage to expand the currency supply. Then you had to print paper to expand the currency supply. But now all you do is you add zeros to it. Just and boom, it's 10 times.
They don't even have to print this trash anymore.
Right.
It's electronic. That is how fast it's going to hit people. If you can understand that, that's why it's information age, not industrial age. And so all those, I feel for them, hoping the government's going to pay, like, who's going to win? Is it Hillary? Is it Obama? Is it Mitt Romney? I mean, they can't do a thing about this. It's too late. It doesn't matter. What matters is how smart you are now. If you think these guys are going to save your family, I think you're in for a sad, rude awakening. Because we've been here before. 1933, a man named Adolf Hitler was elected to Chancellor of Germany. The reason was because the Reichsmark, the Weimar government had printed too many of these Reichsmarks. Today, George Bush and Bernanke and those guys, they don't even have to print the stuff. And it's a global problem, not a German problem. And it has happened throughout history.
Yeah. In 1919, at the end of World War I, the German mark, the price of gold in Germany was 110 marks an ounce. By November 23rd of 1923, it was hundreds of trillions, and a single silver dollar was $1.6 trillion. And trillion marks, yes. And when gold was just going vertical in the midst of their hyperinflation, where people's...
What year was this again?
This was 23. It was November of 23 when they finally went into the death throes of the
This is the German economy.
Yeah. The final week of that hyperinflation, and this is when fear is gripping the nation. The middle class has been wiped out. The value of the currency is changing on a daily basis. Things are 2, 3, 4 times more expensive tomorrow than they were today. It's said that you could drink a bottle of wine at dinner, and the following day the empty bottle, the deposit for it, was worth more than the bottle of wine. There were accounts in 1919 you could retire on 50,000 marks. By 1923, they closed the accounts and didn't even bother sending you the money back because a postage stamp was more than 50. It was several hundred thousand marks. In the final week of November of 1919, when they were in the midst of this currency crisis, that's when Hitler gave his beer hall putsch, that's where he made his name. That's where the public first recognized him. And it wouldn't have been possible for him to come to power if they didn't have that fear to play on.
Throughout history, the only thing that brings stability back into the currency is a strong, charismatic leader. I'm afraid Ron Paul is not our boy. He ain't going to do it.
Right.
I don't think Hillary can do it.
It's a shame,
I don't think Obama can do it. I don't think Romney can do it, because this is beyond the borders of this country. And the middle class will probably be wiped out in America.
So here's what I'm betting on for 2008. Whoever becomes president is going to continue the deficit spending. They're going to continue. This whole generation right now are like a whole bunch of children. They just want it right now, and they spend and charge up the credit cards. When you buy a home or sign a credit card name, you're expanding the currency supply of the United States. The bank didn't loan you any dollars. Those dollars are just a book entry that they add. It's part of fractional reserve banking. When somebody gets foreclosed on, when they file bankruptcy, those dollars that were created magically go poof back into money heaven, and the currency supply contracts. I think somewhere on this big inflation, we're going to have one deflation that it'll wipe out people that are too highly leveraged, that don't have any gold or silver.
Or cash flow.
Yeah, so I think during this cycle, the savers are going to be wiped out. The spenders are going to be wiped out. It's the people that have balanced arcs. If you read Rich Dad's Prophecy, and Robert talks about building an arc in there, you've got to have a balanced arc. He talks about having cargo in your hold that's balanced. And if you've got something that's going to perform well, I don't think we're going to have a deflation for very long. It would be very short-lived. Ben Bernanke would just hit the accelerator on the printing press, floor it, and try and get us.
And the European central banks already prove they're going to flood the market with this.
Those are fake $1 million bills, and they're going to be reality.
Well, aren't you here? They've already proved, they've already shown their hand. They've already played their hand.
Yeah.
They're not even going to print this. They're just going to flood with this. So you're going to see this crash and then inflation like we've never seen before. So it really works for us is because we just collecting that rent, but then we can pay off those deadbeat loans of ours with cheap money. That is the strategy.
In 1980, took 1,000 ounces of gold to buy a silver to buy a single-family median-price home in the United States, and silver was not rare then. When you measure things with gold and silver, there is no inflation. Everything just travels inside of a valuation channel, going from overvalued to undervalued to overvalued to undervalued. That day will come again, but it's probably going to be less than 500 ounces. You want to buy a single-family median-price home outright, no payments, no down payment, 100% cash flow, put $8,000 aside today. You're going to be able to do it in the future.
Silver.
It's just history repeating.
In silver.
Silver, I'm sorry. Silver.
Don't hold cash.
Right.
Cash
gold is good too, but it won't perform as well.
Is trash.
Exactly.
Repeat after me. Cash
is trash.
If you can understand that one, your whole paradigm will shift. So what's the good news?
The good news is I believe you're going to be able to buy a home for $8,000 if you set that money aside in real money, not currency. And people need to learn the difference. When the public can discern the difference between currency and money, that's when this is over with.
This is God's made money. And this is man-made money.
Currency.
Currency. And if Hillary gets elected, it's woman-made money. Then at what point, So,
but we have a Republican president. We're going to spend more deficit spending on war. We have a Democratic president. We're going to do more deficit spending on social programs. It doesn't matter. They're going to expand the currency supply.
And don't believe what those Republicans say. They say, the Democrats tax and spend. The reality is what Michael is saying. Republicans borrow and spend.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, it goes back to taxes. We'll all be taxed for these bills, right?
Exactly.
So are you optimistic about 2008?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Not for the middle class or the general economy. The people that lack financial education, that aren't building their arcs, they're in some serious trouble.
Serious trouble. Thank you. You're optimistic about 2008?
I am pulsatingly optimistic about 2008 because I think as an individual, I want to move, and all the stuff that Michael's talking about, I make sure I know a lot about it. I think 2008 is a wealth-changing year for me personally, so I'm very excited.
Thank you. You excited about 2008?
I'm very excited about 2008. I'm actually excited about 2009 and 2010 because I think it's still going to keep that cycle going. I think we're just at the start right now. And this, again, I mean, when I started in 1987, we were at a turn right then. The market had just turned then, and that's what I see happening now. So I think it's the best time to get educated and get started,
right,
and really truly build your wealth.
And change your thinking. This is trash. This doesn't even exist. That's why we have the subprime mess. It's not those guys with the subprime loans. It started back in 1971, and it's been repeated throughout history. You excited about 2008?
Oh yeah, for sure, because obviously it's going to be our biggest year ever. We predict. We're already seeing money coming in for our properties from Canada and from Hong Kong. And because, well, what are people going to do when they can't buy homes? They're going to defer into rentals. So for our business, the apartment class versus all real estate classes is actually predicted to be the best over the next 5 years.
My friend was at a conference in Las Vegas, and it said the smart money today is in apartment houses and mobile home parks. So that means we're geniuses. And
hang on long enough, we become geniuses.
Yeah, we will eventually. So in closing, I'll just tell you what I do. I don't recommend, don't do this at home. When I say cash is trash, Kim, do we have any cash?
We almost never have cash.
We're always broke.
It's always moving, it's always invested. So when a deal comes up, we scramble like crazy to go find the funding for it.
And the reason for that is as soon as this stuff hits my hand, I'm either putting it into some doodad, like my new Lamborghini, or I'm putting it into something that has the possibility of surviving a currency crash. So Kim and I never have any cash. We're always moving the stuff out of our hands. We are technically broke, but we're not in debt. There is a very big difference. We have hundreds of acres of land right along the path of growth. We have apartment houses, we have gold, silver, oil, stocks, and I think the stock market today is the best. The more it goes down, the more people get upset, the more money I move in there. But it goes back to when I saw silver at around $3.75 an ounce, and it ticked up, ticked up, ticked up. I said, okay, it's going to go back up. And back then, Kim and I had no money. All of our trash went into silver and gold and all that. So am I buying silver and gold today? No. My position is now set. Does that make sense to you? We're now in position. We'll let the thing run, as Michael says. We'll just watch it, watch it, watch it, and just before it blows, when the suckers come, when the other investors come moving into the market, we move it out.
Yep.
That is our play. But we buy things of value. So the thing we're moving our stock money into is bulk shipping companies. You know, people that are shipping the grain because the dollar has dropped, shipping grain to Pakistan and India and all that stuff. We're killing it. We're making so much money in that stuff. You know, people say the Dow was going down, but the Dow was only 30 stocks.
Right.
And the Wilshire 500 is 500 stocks. Well, we're not buying any of those things. We're buying companies that just pay dividends and are solid businesses, just like an apartment house. Not sexy, not fun, not exciting, but very fundamental. So I am extremely excited about the future. The franchising thing is chugging along. Everything is going great. Cash is coming in, and we take this cash and get rid of it as soon as we can. I don't recommend it, but that's what we do. Thank you very much. Have a great 2008.
Hello? Amba, Jim. Uncle. Karare. Amba. Oi.
Aha, abe, Tony be.
Ya nabe, nabe la bia kala ngai sa ka kilo kala ta.
Ate.
Awa.
Kai. Kai. Ah, ni bara.
Ni bara.
2 to 3 years ago, there was nothing here but a small village of about 500 people. But now thousands have flocked to Diabougou in Senegal from neighboring Mali to try out their luck on the gold fields. It's now become the largest gold mining town in Senegal. The country is just starting to realize how rich the earth is, and the locals are learning a lesson or two from their new co-workers.
Malians are much more used to working with gold. They are the ones who have been showing us how to extract gold. This year is my first year extracting gold. I had no idea before I came here.
According to Malian miners, gold is easier to find on mining sites such as Diabougou than in Mali, but it's still a very risky job.
On a une insécurité.
If you do this work, when you grown up, you be star. You be like a madman.
We are controlled there, won't me yet. Because it was a time beyond, but Oma, what in the year you said that they are.
Many people know that it is very dangerous, but it has become part of us.
I don't want people to see that I'm doing Gamse because a lot of people know that all Gamse people don't have good ideas. They are out of their mind.
If you say me, I'm starting a human, difference be great.
Looking at how they will be shouting out you know, there's a whole lot of bad stuff at that place.
My education is very important to me. That's why I'm here.
It's not in my plans that I'll be at the refinery, but I did it because I wanted to go to school.
The balance of fine, a human may and also a boame. A biana may they share me, my men on million and a men now for 4.
According to some, it's about protecting civilians.
And our resolve is clear. The people of Libya must be protected.
Others say it's about oil.
The only reason they're interested with Libya is about the oil. You think we'd be in Iraq if the major export there was broccoli?
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold, a true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret, because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted. There were 2 conferences on this, one in '96 and another one in the year 2000, called the World Mataba Conference, organized by Gaddafi. And everybody was interested. I think most countries in Africa were keen.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold. The UK has double that, but 10 times the population.
If Gaddafi had an intent to try to reprice his oil or whatever else the country was selling in the global markets and accept something else as a currency, or maybe launch a gold dinar currency, any move such as that would certainly not be welcomed by the power elite today who are responsible for controlling the world's central banks. So yes, that would certainly be something that would cause his immediate dismissal and the need for other reasons to be brought forth for removing him from power.
It's happened before. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced Iraqi oil would be traded in euros, not dollars. Sanctions and an invasion followed. Some say because the Americans were desperate to prevent OPEC from transferring oil trading in all its member countries to the euro. A gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
The United States should welcome the self-determination of Africans. They certainly have denied self-determination to Africans inside the United States, so we're not surprised by anything that the United States would do to hinder self-determination of Africans on the continent.
The UK's gold is kept here in a secure vault somewhere in the depths of the Bank of England. As in most developed countries, there's not enough to go around. But that's not the case in places like Libya and many of the Gulf states. A gold dinar would have given oil-rich African and Middle Eastern countries the power to turn around to their energy-hungry customers and say, sorry, the price has gone up and we want gold. Some say the US and its NATO allies literally couldn't afford to let that happen. Laura Emmett, RT.
This building project for the gold miners is made out of polystyrene and cement. This is a ferro cement building. You see on the bottom it's a hexagon shape. This is the main entranceway. Okay? And these are passageways that go to the other buildings. So they face a courtyard in the middle. They face a courtyard in the middle. Okay? You see the courtyard. Okay, the entrance to the building. This is the entranceway. Okay? So this one is a better idea. This is the entranceway. These are two windows on the side. And they're connected with these two. And then you have a middle courtyard in the center. Okay? So it's like this. Alright? This is a building made out of polystyrene and ferro cement. It's a metal reinforcement. And this is a very inexpensive building. This building will cost in the neighborhood of $500 for each one. This one, and the rest of it. This is one of the fringe benefits that the miners will get by working with Sankofa. These are what we're going to build for all the miners and the collectors that we have in West Africa.
They appear on the horizon as if they landed from outer space. Strange, otherworldly structures constructed from society's castaways. You might expect aliens to emerge, but instead they house passionate people with a purposeful way of facing life on this planet. Using the earth and the environment to solely sustain and support their existence. Ahead of their time? Perhaps. But a model for generations to come. I'm meteorologist Jim Cantore. I've made a career of being in the middle of storms, and I love it. But there's more to weather than storms. Some people live where they have to deal with harsh or unusual conditions on a daily basis. On Cantore Stories, we'll take you to these places. You'll meet the people that call them home, and we'll immerse you in their culture. On this episode, the Earthships of Taos. It's the ultimate in eco-housing. Hello, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantore here in Taos, New Mexico. These bizarre buildings called Earthships set the standard for living off the grid. They are almost like living, breathing machines, providing their own energy, water, and food.
The building itself can be a cellular unit that encounters the phenomena of the earth and does everything. So we heat the buildings by thermal mass and sun. We cool the buildings with sun, with a convection engine.
Some people have no idea what I'm talking about at all. There's just no frame of reference. It's like you're living in a spaceship. Where are you? You're living in a house made of tires? Some people imagine living without water and without power, and I explained to them, no, this is the most luxurious life I've ever had.
They may be luxurious inside, but most of the Earthships still appear pretty far out on the exterior.
The first time I saw one, I was like, what the hell is that?
They're what do you call it, Dr. Zeus.
I mean, it's like a hobbit village, you know.
It's kind of a combination of outer earthly and Byzantine.
They're whatever we want to make them look like. And like I say, I have built buildings that would totally take care of people, but nobody wanted them because they were strange looking. They looked like they landed or whatever.
It is true that if you drive past an Earthship and you're expecting to see something conventional and you see these things, you can't figure out what it is. And maybe it doesn't look beautiful for everybody. I'll tell you why it's beautiful to me is I know why it's designed this way, and I know what all of the aspects of the Earthship are about. So I love the way it looks. Plus, it's just weird looking, you know?
The Earthships are located less than 2 miles from the majestic Rio Grande Gorge. The first ones were constructed in the early 70s, about 15 miles outside the town of Taos, in a rural region known as the Landing Zone.
Because there's no actual structure here, infrastructure, it was easy to start with nothing, just from the ground up, and make it so you're catching your water, you've got your solar power, you know. You're creating a stable environment as a building for people to live in.
Taos is an eclectic town of about 5,000 permanent residents. It sits in the north-central region of New Mexico, about halfway between Albuquerque and Colorado Springs, Colorado.
I think Taos is a place that really allows us and encourages us to be ourselves, which accounts for this amazing artistic environment, and architects and painters and musicians. We can really spread our wings and be who we are here in a way that is difficult out in mainstream America.
And I think that people here in Taos they kind of run at a different speed. There's sort of a term that we use called Taos time, and that means that people are sort of just a little bit slower, quieter, not so much in a hurry. It's sort of the opposite of the New York minute.
Earthships have been built in every state and over 17 countries. But with over 300 sunny days a year, Taos is the perfect place for them.
The house is oriented south so that it catches solar gain in the winter, and in the summer when the sun goes back up, it's shaded
So the house, in return, passively heats and cools itself through thermal mass and conduction.
There are basic fundamentals that make up an Earthship. Besides solar, they are designed to utilize wind power for additional energy. They produce food in a greenhouse that is designed to take advantage of the south-facing windows. They have a contained sewage treatment system which takes water from sinks and showers, called gray water, which is used to water indoor gardens. It's gathered again to flush toilets and then goes into a septic tank. At this point, it's called black water, and it's extracted again and used on outdoor plants. One of the most important features of the Earthship is harvesting water from the roof, since this area only averages 12 inches of rainfall annually.
So we basically flushed the toilet with water we took a shower in yesterday. So we're basically never letting a drop of water go once we catch it from the sky. The roof is a basin that catches water and stores it in cisterns, and we use it 4 times. We not only reuse the water with this system, but we make it so no sewage leaves the building.
These obviously aren't your typical 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath houses of suburbia. Then again, if you choose to live in one, mainstream probably isn't a word on your doormat. Just saying.
Go fly! So I have a friend, and when she heard that I go out and I turn my panels, because I don't have to, but if I turn my panels, I get more power all during the day. I track the sun. And she said, you know, for me, she says, I want power. I don't want to think about power. I don't want to turn panels. I don't want to think about it not being sunny and not having power. That person would be miserable in this house.
I think after a while, it would maybe feel like I was living under the earth, and I just would want to be more on top of the earth. And tradition, growing up with houses being seen, this would be kind of hard for me to adjust to. But the concept's great. So, I mean, I would take the panels and all the guts of what they're doing, but put it in a more traditional style house for someone my age.
Sally Margolin helped build her own Earthship. For her, there's no other way to live.
And I really think once you've lived like this, why would you not want to live like this? And how important is that for the world? Well, I hope there are enough people who do this that it makes a difference. You know, I'm making a difference somehow for the planet. And if enough people are doing that, it can't be bad.
Margolin's Earthship is one of the early ones. It's a little more old school than the modern versions.
This is the custom compost toilet, which is basically a 5-gallon bucket sitting inside this box. And then this pail has peat moss in it. So you use the peat moss and you put that in the bucket after you use the compost toilet.
Many people of today's technology generation are finding value in this type of sustainable living.
I love the fact that my conscience feels a lot better than when I was living in the middle of the suburbs, not knowing where my power was coming from or where the water was coming from or what it had been through.
It's a state of consciousness that will resonate forever with Margolin.
They're taking me out of my house feet first, because, you know, when you build your own home, I think it's probably pretty hard to say, oh, I'm going to go live somewhere else. And B, when you build a home because you want to live like this and you want to live close to nature and you want to be in touch with what's going on in the sky and the weather, and then to think that I would move from here to what? So, yeah, feet first. That's how I'm leaving.
Coming up on Cantori Stories, meet the man who launched the Earthship.
Well, I'm a pioneer, I'm a visionary, I'm all of that, but I'm a human, and I sort of am excited about where humanity can go.
He's his own man. He's got a vision and a real commitment. This is not just about being an architect, it's about helping people.
Since their beginnings in the 70s, the process of building Earthships continues to evolve and improve. But everything still revolves around rubber.
What we start with is about 500 automobile tires that we get from the dump or tire stores, and we pound them full of site dirt. That creates a mass retaining wall that we can berm against and creates a massive wall that can hold heat.
You end up with, like, say, anywhere between 150 and 300 pound rammed earth brick encased in rubber and steel belting. And we basically stack those like bricks, pound them in place.
And then the second stage is to do all the steel work and the foundation work, and we form a lot of that with can walls made out of aluminum cans that we get from the recycling center. We also use plastic bottles, and we've used all sorts of different waste in different projects.
The bottles and cans are used for forming concrete and for non-bearing interior walls that are lightweight and curvable. Glass windows are key ingredients since it's sunny 75 to 80% of the time in New Mexico. And the Earth ships are all built facing south to capture all that potential solar energy.
The newer models like this one have a greenhouse built into the house, but separate from the house. So your plants get lots of light and lots of warmth, but the house doesn't get as warm as the greenhouse does.
Building them is labor intensive, but they're all designed to meet local building codes.
Technology's gotten so much better. Panels are more efficient, the batteries are more efficient, and as everything moves forward, so do we with the buildings.
And what we were doing 3 years ago is seriously obsolete compared to what we're doing now. What we're doing is, see, we start to understand these Earth phenomena more and more and more and more, and squeezing more performance out of them to the point where, I mean, I'm getting pretty cocky. I'm saying, hell, I could do this on the moon, and it would work.
The Earth ships cost about $200 per square foot, which seems steep, but not when you consider that your utility bills can be as low as $50 a year.
We really started to look at materials differently. Like, I consider a tire a building material just like a 2x4. So, you know, it gives you a different way of looking at, you know, what could you use that is a byproduct in your house, in a house that'll keep you warm and give you power and water and food.
He looks like a mad scientist.
Michael Reynolds is kind of like a renegade, redneck architect who, for some reason, has a pretty brilliant idea.
He's the man behind the plan, the father of the Earth ships.
I would describe him as being quite a visionary, but at the same time, you know, the bottom line is direct action. Just getting things done and doing it.
He's been called the garbage warrior.
The fact that we use what this world calls garbage, you know, a lot of things have been a stigma against it, but it just keeps getting better. In other words, the climate change paranoia, the energy crunches, the economic crunches, everything gets people more and more afraid. And this is something they can look at and say, I can take care of my family if I have one of these. One of these buildings in this community would simply take care of you no matter what happened. You could stay alive. In this building here, you could literally stay alive.
He's always on the go. He's nonstop, you know. There's always something in his head. He's always, what's the next building, or what's the next move to make it easier or more accessible.
He's a trained architect who came to Taos to avoid the draft during the Vietnam War. He calls himself a biotech now, and after 40 years of building Earth ships, who's to argue?
I'm getting pretty good at doing it, and what has happened is the world has gone down, down, down to the point where it really, really needs this. I just happen to be here with this, and so yeah, right now I'm on a magic carpet ride.
He's his own man. He's got a vision and a real commitment. This is not just about being an architect, it's about helping people.
And I see people as stressed and starved right now all over the planet, even the wealthy people. They're stressed and starved in certain ways, and if you could take the people of this planet and make them relaxed and totally comfortable with knowing that they had sustenance for them and their families, they would probably emerge to a completely different level of humanity, which would be beyond politics, beyond economics. It would be unbelievable. People are not trusting anything these days except maybe the sun. You know, the sun can't be bought out. The sun can't be corrupted. The rain can't be corrupted. This is a way that people are starting to see it's the truth. It's the only truth.
After all these years, Reynolds still has fun with the designs, hence their off-the-wall appearances.
They can look like whatever you want, but I am aware of the fact that people do want things to look a certain way, and so they can look pretty much as conventional as you want them to.
He was absolutely, dogged in doing what he was going to do out here and doing whatever he had to do to make it work. And I'm so thankful for that. And look, I'm living like this because he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Well, I'm a pioneer, I'm a visionary, I'm all of that, but I'm a human, and we're all humans, and I sort of am excited about where humanity can go, and it's kind of just an adventure.
Coming up on Cantori Stories, a low-cost solution to natural disasters?
We used 10,000 plastic bottles off the streets of Port-au-Prince. We used about close to 100 tires. When you take the two and you create a wall that can withstand an earthquake.
We go to wherever there's a tsunami or a hurricane or an earthquake, and the reason we do is because, yes, one thing is we do have some answers, because after a disaster, they're looking for shelter, water, and sanitation. We have it. We do it. That's our job.
No country in recent history has needed more help than Haiti. 2010's catastrophic earthquake left over 300,000 dead and up to 1 million homeless.
These people have been through just horrors that most of us can't even imagine. It makes you just have instant respect for these people that have been through this.
Within months, Team Earthship rounded up 40 Haitians, ages 4 to 50, to pitch in and help construct a 120-square-foot self-sustaining home that could be built for $4,000.
So the building, just the construction of it, was cleaning up the streets. We used 10,000 plastic bottles. We used about close to 100 tires. When you take the two and you create a wall that can withstand an earthquake. It's resistant to hurricanes due to the dome shape. The Haitians really built the building with us just kind of massaging it and directing it. They're just really motivated to make their country better.
I don't really know exactly, guys, if you really understand that huge favor that you give us. You teach people how to build an airship. Like my own water, my own electricity, my own food. It's like this is all we need. And then now we can share it.
We have taken a very proud and light people, and I think this is a perfect formula for making a shot heard around the world.
Reality vision.
It's like a dream turned into reality. I have to hold back tears, seeing all that we've done. My objective is to change Haiti. If I have to die before I see it, I will work for the next generation. I love you guys. I love Earthship.
This is Allison, your navigation advisor. Where can OnStar take you today?
210 West Rim Road. There are other examples of eco-housing in Taos besides Earthships. Let's go check some out. There are houses made out of straw. There's even a house with a living roof. And ones with different types of solar heating, besides standard panels.
So you can see behind me is the trom wall. So it's the wall oriented to the south, and then the sun pours through the glass, and the heat that gets trapped in there probably gets up to 150 degrees. So it just traps enough heat in that mass that it can store enough heat to heat the house all night long.
Eccentric yet ingenious. Yeah, they look like they were dropped from outer space. But there's nothing alien about this construction. Imagine a home that provides its own food, energy, and water. And you've discovered the Earthships of Taos.
We have found this way, and it works, and it's very secure. You've got your water, you've got your shelter, you've got your energy, you've got your food, you've got heating and cooling. It is working.
Little kids out here are a blast. They go into schools and the teachers say you can always tell the kids who live in Earthships because they go around and they shut off the lights when they leave the classrooms, and they're always telling people don't leave the water on. They're totally attuned. So, you know, get these little guys doing that and the planet might not be in such trouble.